There's that funky side guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live 5 and the Network, Rumble, X, YouTube, all that good stuff. Rolling along, tons of news today. Molotov cocktail goes through a home in Fontana. Then they hit him with a flare gun. Cops shoot a suspect in Corona with a tire iron. Of course, House of Representatives voted to release the Epstein Files. Finally, hope it goes sailing through the Senate very quickly. Political corruption is breaking out all over the place, from Gavin Newsom, B.S. Rob Bonta, Javier Baccaria, right here in downtown Moreno Valley with baby Jesus and the $2 million he cost us, and much, much more. But the lead story of the day, dog shoots owner after he left a shotgun on the bed. Let's catch, see how much more we can catch of this story on the ABC 7 report. Hopefully it will play. Here we go.
Says he was accidentally shot by his dog. The bizarre mishap happened late last night at a home on the 300 block of State Street in Shillington. The man told police he was cleaning a shotgun and put it down on his bed. When the man sat down on the bed, he says the dog jumped up onto the bed, causing the firearm to discharge and strike him in the lower back.
So that's a big adaptation. Of course, we've had man bites dog, of course. Now we have dog shoots man with a shotgun. Never thought I'd hear that one. We can wipe that off the... Well, we thought we'd never see that. Hope the man recovers from the injuries of that. It could have been devastating, but when would you ever have thought you would have heard a man gets shot by his dog with a 12 gauge shotgun? I think it was a 12 gauge. They didn't say what it was. Could be a 20 gauge. 'Tis the season to be jolly, as they say. Well, watch out for the porch pilots. They will be targeting you. We have another ABC 7 report showing how to protect yourself from the porch pilots that want to do their Christmas shopping on your doorstep. We'll see.
Packages in the mail. But you're not the only one who's looking forward to these deliveries. So are the crooks. We've seen it happen time and time again. A stranger runs onto a porch, snatches a package that was just delivered, and takes off. The theft happening in mere seconds. The crime definitely ramps up during the holidays. In fact, 1 in 4 Americans has had a package stolen. Experts say most thefts happen between noon and 6 p.m., the common time people are at work. If you're expecting a package and won't be home, there are several things to do in hopes of preventing yourself from becoming a victim. Set up delivery alerts so you know exactly when a package is delivered. That way you can ask a neighbor to grab it for you immediately. Speaking of neighbors, you could even arrange to have the packages delivered to somebody else who's home during the day. If neither of those are possible, you can have the Postal Service hold your mail until you can stop by to grab it.
All good advice to keep from being the victim of a porch pirate, and they will be out in force. You know, big time here is the Christmas season ramps up here. Usually after Thanksgiving is when everything really sets off. Fontana homeowners first got hit with a Molotov cocktail, then they got hit with a flare gun. Wow. Here's the ABC 7 report. We thought.
New at 4, that was the sound of a flare gun being fired at a home in Fontana. The woman who lives there says this is the second incident of its kind in the past month. Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan is live in Fontana with new information on this bizarre case. Rob.
Well, Fontana Montana police just announcing they've made an arrest in this case. They say the man they arrested is likely responsible for at least one of these incidents. No word on motive, but for the family whose home has now been attacked twice, they'll be likely able to sleep a little bit easier. Check out this surveillance video from the backyard of a Fontana home. Watch as a Molotov cocktail is thrown, hitting the roof, then falling onto the back lawn. Celeste Gonzalez says fortunately the back lawn was wet, so the fire didn't spread.
Just disbelief, just very confused on why it happened based on like the location of our home. There is a main street nearby, so it could have just been a fluke. It could have just been.
The sad part of this, and it goes on, maybe we'll get into it later on in the hour if we got time. They moved from Los Angeles to get away from this crap, and they're getting it in Fontana. Man, holy cow. Suspect armed with a tire iron was shot dead by police outside an Applebee's in Corona.
When you're injured, big insurance companies.
We thought we were going to have the report from Fox 11, but that's a bizarre story again that's unfolding out here in the IE. Sad note, funeral services were held today in Ontario for fallen Deputy Andrew Nunez. It's somewhat interesting to see the reaction now from what it used to be on slain officers, but we will show you some of the services held in Ontario for slain Deputy Andrew Nunez as they carry his casket in. There you see them getting ready to enter the building, and then they give the salute to their fallen colleague, Deputy Andrew Nunez, San Bernardino Sheriff's Deputy. Rest easy, sir. Some of the other, this is another bizarre story. The Palisades fire wiped out gazillions of homes. Remember, Gavin Newsom said, "Oh, the state didn't have nothing to do with it." Blamed LA while he's drinking tequila. Buffoon Bass is drinking in Guyana. Now there's just coming out evidence, strong evidence that showed it was exactly the state of California. Were warned. They called it off. They said it wasn't their responsibility. LA Fire said, "Hey, this is your deal." They said, "Hey, blow it." 6 or 7 days later, Pacific Palisades burns. Incredible, the politicians and what we let them get away with. We'll delve deeper into that either today or later on in the week. Of course, the thing everybody's practically been clamoring for, the release of the Epstein Files with Trump's blessing. The House of Representatives approved a resolution today to release those files. Finally, let's get to it. And if those, especially the pedos, if they were involved, they definitely need to be going to jail. Hopefully, that will be precipitated here with the release of the Epstein Files. The courts have blocked the Texas congressional map that Gavin Newsom said, "Oh, we had to push Prop 50 to block Texas because Trump's doing that." Why can you let the courts do the job, Newsom? You lied on 50. You lied to the people. You convinced 2 out of 3. I don't know what that says about California, but I don't think it says anything good. We still got a long ways to go. When you got a jackass like Gavin Newsom that can lie to the people and convince 2/3 of them to vote on a lie, and all the people that supported them. It's really frightening. And then he's got a ex post out, well, trying to deflect it. The other one on the radar screen, BS Rob Bonta spent $500,000 on lawyers in the Shanghai Oakland Dongs, and that's their name, corruption investigation in Oakland. He's been mentioned. Remember, Shanghai said she wasn't the target. Why is BS Bonta spending $500,000? Ashley Zavala has a report we'll get to in a bit. Well, CalPERS, the main retirement system for most of California's public employees, blew $3 billion on the new Green Deal stuff. The investments went down the tube while they didn't invest in oil and gas and AI, and now their pension system is suffering. Guess who gets to make that up? Us dummy taxpayers. California. Carl DeMaio has been breaking this all over the place. Another corruption scandal going on that. The third one, Javier Baccaria, former HHS secretary and Congressman, Attorney General of California. Remember the Dana the Hammer Williamson, who was charged. His chief of staff in both places was charged. Nikki of Inside California Politics had a great interview. We'll get into that in depth here in the rest of the show. Another one, California, Gavin Newsom. Jackass Gavin Newsom is going to have you believe that the California oil and gas industry, refiners, sellers, drillers, are leaving California because they're gouging the prices, and that's why California gas is high, which your own reports that you spent $50 million on, of our money on, said no, it wasn't. It was you and California Air Resources Board. Why we're paying 50% plus more than the average of gallon of gas. Who the hell, if they got a monopoly and they're making money hand over fist, why in God's name would you leave? But Newsom, that's how he convinces 2 out of 3 Californians to vote on a lie on Prop 50. We'll have this, much, much more as we delve into these topics. Yeah, it's it's absolutely beyond criminality of what's going on in California, especially. We have to endure this utter nonsense. We get gaslit, literally, almost every day. Rob Bonner, Gavin Newsom, Mayor Baby Jesus here in Moreno Valley, Victor Manuel Perez and crew on the Board of Supervisors. You pick your poison. And I've got to give them credit that they can sit there and look in the camera and lie 1,432%. I mean, holy bleeping cow. The scandals are just immense. It's like the deal now. The courts are blocking the Texas map. Remember, Gavin, you said, oh, the evil Trump called Greg Abbott and did that, which was a lie. It was a court. Texas redistrict. Now they put a map in that was going to put 5 in. The court threw that out. We'll see how it goes. Well, now California's one doesn't. Now what? If we lose in court too, that's $300 million you dump down the frickin' toilet. And the worst part is he convinced 2/3 of the people to frickin' lie. To vote for a lie. And he knew it. and his compadres knew it. But here's his tweet after the case came out. Donald Trump and Greg Abbott played with fire and got burned, and democracy won. No, they didn't. That's a lie again. They were under court order to do it. This ruling is a win for Texas and every American who fights for fair elections. Well, your emphasis for doing Prop 50 was Texas is doing that. You couldn't wait for the courts to figure this out? No, we went in. Now, they're going to probably, unless the court throws California's out. Now, we're going to be stuck with gerrymandered districts, and I'm pretty confident now the court's going to throw out Prop 50. I think Mark Moyser, we're going to see if we can get Mark on. In his case with Dillon Law Group, they filed against Prop 50. With this ruling out, other than being in a flat kangaroo court, although it could go to the Supreme Court, which is not a kangaroo court, at least in most cases, we'll be okay. I think it's going to get thrown out either way. I think all this madness is all for naught. But we shall see. It will definitely be one for the ages, as they say. Let's do with the BS Rob Bonta. There's the whole Shang Tao, mayor of Oakland. She got recalled. She's in a big corruption scandal up there in Oakland with the Dong family, lots of contributions, millions bribed this, selling buildings here, everything else. Rob Bonta and Mia Bonta, his wife, which is an assemblyman, now he's attorney general, was assemblyman, has been mentioned in this case. And remember, Shang Tao, when she was mayor, said, I was not the target, or they told me I was not the target of the investigation. Well, now we're find out Rob Bonta, our attorney general, has taken almost $500,000 out of his campaign funds to lawyer up and spend on lawyers in the Dong Chow corruption investigation up in Oakland, which was theirs from. That's where he was or assemblywoman. They're all in the Bay Area. Here's the great Ashley Zavala with her KCRA3 report. She's the one that broke the story. Here we go.
Questions for California Attorney General Rob Bonta tonight after we learned that he has spent nearly $500,000 of his campaign funds on legal help. KCRA3 Political Director Ashley Zavala is the first to report this story, and she joins us now with exactly what's going on here.
Golston, tonight we're learning Rob Bonta has spent a lot of his own campaign cash on legal help amid a federal bribery investigation. His campaign is saying that the money is to help with that investigation, but this is the first time we're hearing about this now 10 months after that investigation started.
My first question is, and Ashley deals with it later on, how can it, if it's not illegal, it should be. How can you spend, well, you can. How is it legal for you to spend $500,000 on campaign contributions, which is supposed to be for you to get elected? It's supposed to be your campaign, not what you did in office. Now, maybe it could possibly be in the campaign contribution, but why in the hell 500 grand? Even if at $500 an hour, lawyers spent close to 1,000 hours so far working on this case. You talk about sus. Holy Jesus.
2 days before announcing he would not run for California governor and seek re-election for attorney general. This was in February. Campaign finance records show he made 5 payments to a private law firm totaling $468,000. That law firm, Wilson, Sonsini, Goodrich, and Rosati, has a wide range of services, including legal help with government investigations and white-collar crime. Bonta's campaign confirmed the payments were for legal help with the ongoing federal bribery investigation that's happening in the East Bay. That's the investigation in which Oakland Mayor Shang Tao, the ex-mayor there, and a family full of business people known as the Dongs were indicted earlier this year. In a statement, his campaign's senior advisor, Dan Newman, said, There are, of course, ongoing legal proceedings in the East Bay in which several people were charged with serious crimes. The AG wants to ensure that anyone who committed a crime is held accountable, so he engaged outside legal counsel to help his law enforcement partners pursue justice.
What the hell? That makes absolutely 0 sense. 0. Why would you be helping somebody else's or assisting in investigating? That's what the Attorney General's office is supposed to do, or Department of Justice, or district attorneys' offices in the county. That's what we pay them already to do. Why would you be assisting someone else to ensure that? That is the dumbest story I've probably heard. But hey, they conned 2 out of 3 to pass the lie on Prop 50. So they figure, hey, the vast majority, the overwhelming majority, are going to buy whatever story we tell you.
Bonta has not been charged with the crime here, but he did return $155,000 worth of campaign donations he received from the Dongs. Bonta's advisor, Dan Newman, citing that ongoing investigation, really couldn't share much more information with me about this. But Bonta never said he would use his own campaign money to help with the investigation outside of his official capacity as Attorney General. So this is the first time, again, that we're learning about this.
Again, yes. The 1000%. Why would you be assisting in the investigation? Now, if it had to do campaign contributions and you were using $500,000 out of your campaign fund to defend that because they were accusing you and you returned 155 grand, okay, that would say, hey, wouldn't come up with a slightly believable story, Rob. BS.
We did ask how much of that money is being used for him to have his own representation and how much is just to simply assist with this investigation. Tonight, it's really not clear still.
Well, so first up, people may be hearing this thinking, okay, can he even do this with that money?
And that's something we're asking tonight. Again, we've just learned.
Yes, that's the $64 gazillion question. And yeah, which part of it were you using to defend yourself and supposedly assisting in the investigation? You think we're imbeciles? Well, yes, they do. Let me answer that question. This is another one for the ages. On that. Another one. Holy hell is what we should be saying. Carl DeMiles from Breaking This has been going out all over the place. $3 billion frickin' dollars. CalPERS rolled down the toilet on greening invested solar that's all going to save us. They torched taxpayers' money. We're going to have to make that up. You, the taxpayer. Because they wouldn't invest in rural. In fact, they run oil and gas out of our state. Or AI or anything else. No, we're going to greeny weenie and all this. And no, we're going to save the planet, climate change, and all this other crap. Now they're about ready to crash the public employees pension system, California, again. It flippin' gets better and better and better, doesn't it? I mean, how could we be, well, we are that dumb. Collectively, there is no way. There is no way on God's green earth that we could be subjected to this kind of torture unless we inflicted it on ourselves, which we have done many times. We've got to get off this roller coaster before it winds up killing us 1,000%. Of course, the Epstein Files came out. This almost proves Jeffrey Epstein was an agent of Intel. Here's Speaker Johnson announcing after they passed the release of the Epstein Files in the House. Here we go.
All right. Number 5, national security concerns, okay? The discharge requires the Attorney General to release within 30 days, quote, classified information to the maximum extent possible. This ignores the principle that declassification should always rest and always has rested with the agency that originated the intelligence. Why? So that they can protect their critical sources and methods. It is incredibly dangerous to demand that the officials or employees of the DOJ declassify materials that originated in other.
That's pretty much an admission right there. Jeffrey Epstein was an agent of the intel agency. Now, which intel was that? Mossad, Israel, us in combination with them, someone else? Is pretty much implicating the U.S. intelligence agency. Because why would you redact or try to hide this if he was not? There would be no even mention of this. Or why is it being redacted? To protect other intel agencies? Well, if you weren't involved in intel, there would be no reason to protect you from them. Again, this is not 111% conclusive proof, but probably 98.7% conclusive proof. Jeffrey Epstein was an intel agent. It's absolutely fabulous. We got the Epstein Files released. We got to thank the 4 outlaws, as I'm calling them, Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. They were the 4 Republicans that actually pushed this and got the Democrats to go along with and get it out there. They may be in more trouble, but we'll see. It may backfire on them. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Well, they did, but we're on our way. Hopefully, Trump's approval rating, I think, popped up 5 points just since, in the past couple of days, since the Epstein Files are coming out. So it's about time. I'm glad they're out. Let's get through them. Let's figure this all out. Now it's out in the open. Let's get it done. Get past it. Put those in jail that need to be in jail.
30 seconds, Roy.
Maybe we'll get onto that as John says. We'll be on Mighty Met KMET in a few seconds. We'll get into the Baccaria stuff. That is fascinating. Of how another example of extreme corruption in our politics, especially California.
Here we go, 10 seconds.
We're becoming and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 in the EvoP Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, do all that good stuff. On that, we had, what a day. The news just keeps piling. You usually think, well, weekend, Monday, everything piles up. Tuesday, you'll kind of, well, no, Al, we're on turbo overdrive of that. On top of a Molotov cocktail, then a Fontana homeowner gets hit with a flare gun. And they moved from LA out from here to do that. Cops in Corona shoot a man with a tire iron in Applebee's parking lot in Corona. Very sad news. They had the services today for slain San Bernardino County Deputy Andrew Nunez, of that, rest easy, sir. House passed the release of the Epstein Files, and Mike Johnson just about 98.7% confirmed. Watched the earlier broadcast and we ran the clip. Pretty much confirmed Jeffrey Epstein, along with being a pedo peddler, was a intelligence agent. Check that out. This is going to be fun. And I'm glad Trump got it out. His approval ratings went up about 5 points in the last couple of days since once he came out and said release the Epstein files. So maybe Trump should take that as a hint to get back on point, like you were in the campaign and like we elected you to do certain things. We were very clear. You were very clear. Now get them done. Quit listening to all these other yo-hos. You know in your gut what's right. Get back to it. There's just some of the stuff that's going on. Came out now, Newsom and the Greenie Weenies have been cost $3 billion to the CalPERS retirement fund, which is mainly what almost all the public employees California are over the greenie weenie crap, climate change and all that. They invest in this stuff. It ain't paying off. If solar and all this stuff and wind was so great, why are the investments in the companies tanking? Well, you're running off oil and gas and not investing in it and not dropping the price of it and gaslighting us, telling us it's the oil companies and the refiners, why gas is 50% higher in California than it is anywhere else. And you ignoramus, the report you ordered, you spent $50 million of our dollars and came back and said, no, they're not making any more or less than anywhere else. It's you. On top of that, now, well, maybe we'll get to it today or tomorrow. Now it's found out the state was 100% responsible for the Palisades fire, according to the attorney who's going out with the new evidence that's coming out. They backed off everybody and said, no, it isn't. And it was on state land. It was their responsibility. They backed everybody off on the first smoldering deal that was going on that came back when the winds came up. While he was drinking tequila, according to his buddy, and Buffoon Bass is in Guyana drinking it up. Again, it would be what company who had a monopoly that was price gouging and stuff voluntarily leaves? No, the reason we're paying 50% more than the national average is because of the stupid policies, the gaslighting, the lies we've been told. Just like that, Texas judge have blocked the Texas redistricting. Let the courts take care of it, Newsom. Instead, what the dangerous part of this is they convinced 2/3 of Californians to believe a lie. Now we're stuck with it. Probably the courts eventually are going to throw out Prop 50, and we spent $300 million on all this crap for nothing. Of our money, plus probably another $200 million in the ads. Most of that came from public employees, which was our money de facto. You can't make this crap up. I wish I did. I wish I would come in and say, yeah, this is the Babylon Bee, the Onion. But sadly, it's not. It's the reality of the situation. The other one was the Dana the Hammer Williamson arrest that came out last week. Pilfered $250K plus out of Javier Bacaria's campaign funds. Javier Bacaria, Congressman, Attorney General, HHS Secretary under Biden. Now, she was arrested. Sean McCluskey, his chief of staff, all through this. And we found out in Inside Politics with Nikki, Dana the Hammer Williamson was his campaign manager in 2018, Javier Bacarias. But he's claiming, no, I didn't know anything about this. This is about the amount of corruption, disingenuous, flat out lying, gaslighting that goes on is absolutely incredible. Here's the first part. The Inside California Politics. You can see it on the weekends, I think Sunday morning at 5:30, or you can catch it on the web too. Of that. It's a good show. And she's getting close, or another maybe a 1A to the great Ashley Zavala up there in KCRA 3. But here we go with Nikki and Javier Baccaria, as Joe Biden calls him.
That you were in the dark about this until you were approached by the Justice Department.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, was this really a surprise? Because there was reporting in April of last year identifying these $10,000 payments that were coming out of a dormant campaign account of yours.
Yes.
So how were you not aware of that?
No, I was.
You could tell right there, just from Nikki, like, how in the hell could you not know 10 grand's going out of your campaign funds account that you are ultimately responsible for? He's going to try to duck out of it. But you could the expression, picture's worth a gazillion words. And that expression by Nikki, like, there is no way you can explain yourself out of this.
Aware of the payments that were being made. I had authorized them when I had been approached by my advisors to pay to make sure we could take care of these dormant accounts. Remember, I am now a federal official. By the Hatch Act, the law, and by our ethics rules, I must stay separate from anything that's considered political or campaign activity. And so I am hiring someone to manage those accounts so that there's no appearance that I'm trying.
But don't you have to sign off on campaign finance documents when they're reported to the Secretary of State's office?
And also with tax payments that you do in the account.
So you saw it?
Absolutely did. I knew what was being paid.
Okay.
I knew what was being paid. I knew what was being 10 grand a month to file a few forms and take care and check to make sure the balance is correct on the checking account. $10,000 a year would be a high price to pay, and he's going to try to run it. They were paying 10 grand a month. I don't care if you're not, you should be saying, hey, what the hell is going on over here of this? There's probably the most logical reason, we'll get to that, why the 10 grand a month was coming out, but here we go.
What I didn't know was all the underlying activity that was occurring that was against the law outside of the payments. I was paying to have the accounts managed.
Okay.
That would be, okay, I don't know, what's the lawn service cost? Let's say guy will come over and mow your lawn or whatever lawn service for $150 a week. And let's say you had a house or let's say you inherited a house from your deceased parents, you're renting it out and you're paying $150 to do the landscaping. And then all of a sudden it's $10,000 a month. They send you a bill. You're going to go like, what the hell? Like, don't give me this. Oh, I didn't. You saw it. You knew. There is no possible explanation to know that you do not pay 10 grand. Somebody to go, to file your FCC forms every 6 months, which probably at best, if it's a dormant account, if that takes you an hour, check the balance on the checking account, which no money's going in or out. Supposedly it's dormant. Yeah, we had 150,000 last month, or 250,000. We got or 500,000 or $1 million. And what the hell are you doing with that kind of money anyway?
That's what I knew.
Okay. Yeah, because the indictment indicates and says that the people involved were working to mislead you. But I want to ask you this because
they were working to mislead you. I don't care how they were working to mislead you. You knew you're a dormant account. You don't pay $10,000 a month to service something that is dormant. not a paperwork. It's not a building or something that you have to maintain, or a horse. Let's say you got a stable of race horses and are racing, you still got to feed them and take care of them, yada, yada, yada. This is it's absolutely 1000% maddening here.
We clarified that it's not the John Podesta that people are thinking of. It's a different Podesta. And so we were answering those questions.
But what do you say to this person who was quoted in the article, the director of ethics for the Campaign Legal Center, that said that 10,000 a month seems like a lot? Did that raise any eyebrows in terms of your reaction to it?
Maybe it would raise a lot of eyebrows for folks who aren't familiar with campaign activity. But if you take a look at what campaigns spend, you have to pay quite a bit of money for compliance purposes, for oversight, for legal fees, for basic management, for
Shut up. Even in the midst of a campaign, and I've been involved in a lot of them, and some big ones. And I've seen, and you can look on all of the websites. Nobody pays that kind of money unless you're running through hundreds of millions of dollars in the midst of a campaign. Shut up. 10 grand a month for a dormant account? Shut up. Jeez. That's some of the worst lying I've ever heard, in my opinion, in my entire life.
as well.
So when that started happening, did the $10,000 payments ring a bell then?
Not in the sense that there was something wrong with me paying $10,000.
Oh, again, if it took you an hour every 6 months to fill out the 460 form, you're not even filing no 497s because nobody's supposedly putting in any money, taking out, you're not right. It's a dormant campaign. Oh, that is the biggest freaking lie, in my opinion. Oh, I didn't know this. 10, he's trying to justify it. Like she says, 10. He keeps trying to talk about 10,000 like it's, maybe you're thinking it's a year, but it's not. Nikki's great. She keeps saying 10,000 a month didn't get your attention. Oh no.
She liked to text. I mean, she has a reputation of being a prolific texter.
That's Dana the Hammer Williamson.
So the feds have seen her communications and correspondence. Do you think other California Democrats, lobbyists, consultants should be worried?
Oh gosh, I'll put you. I'll
notice that right up. Oh gosh, you're going to see him stutter and stammer. Oh yeah, I think even Javier Bacaria's got a reason.
Give you an answer by answering from where I sit today.
See when you see people stuttering and deflecting with almost 111% certainty, you know they're lying through their frickin' teeth.
You develop strong relationships, trusted relationships. I suspect a lot of folks have developed strong trusted relationships with some of these individuals that are named.
So some correspondence potentially could betray that trust?
I won't speak for them. I mean, I had far less correspondence, let's say, with Dana than I would have had with, say, Sean McCluskey, my chief of staff. So I don't know what she would have done with others. I just know that you develop strong relationships with people because all of these activities, whether it's helping you manage a very large public enterprise like the state of California or the Department of Health and Human Services, or if it's to run a very important statewide campaign, you develop strong relationships, trusted relationships.
Strong and trusted relationships. You knew, you're de facto admitting you knew what the hell was going on. I say the evidence strongly suggests this guy is not even a good. At least Newsom can be somewhat convincing when he does this stuff. This guy is just something else.
Hate to hear the news kind of thing. Yeah.
So you're Attorney General, you're running for governor.
Yeah.
What does the fact that these powerful political operatives were able to manipulate this process, I mean, steal from you? People have entered plea deals about what's going on in Sacramento. What is
Sean McCluskey, his chief of staff, that's your most trusted position. And they're ripping you off without your knowledge, and you're watching it. You're watching. This isn't like your Jeff Bezos and Amazon with trillions of dollars or whatever going through. You're looking at like 20 or 30 entries on a page that you knew and you saw. The 10 grand a month was going out on this account to maintain it.
say about what's going on here?
I think it speaks more to what can go on. I knew I was paying money.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that things were being done with the money that I did not expect.
He knew it was. He didn't expect that. What did he expect was going on when 10 grand a month was going out that shouldn't have cost you $1,000 a year? 1%, that should have cost you 1% of what you spent. You spent 120 grand or over $250,000 over something that should have probably cost you $1,000, $2,500 at the most. 1%? And that did, nothing's going, don't move along here, nothing, you didn't see anything.
But here's the point. Well, you're married for 20 years. All of a sudden you find out that your spouse has been cheating on you. Did you expect that?
And when you're watching her blanking your best friend and you say, well, I didn't really see that. That's what he's wanting you to believe. And you see it multiple times. You see it once every 2 weeks he's coming in, or once every day, or whatever. Because you were looking at it. You were looking at the cheating you knew it was going on, or you knew something. You should at least knew something was very suspicious.
You're playing in a sport. Did you find out your teammate was actually throwing games?
That's about one of the dumbest analogies I've ever heard in my lifetime.
Is the thing I'm having a hard time fathoming.
So Democrat East Bay Congressman Ro Khanna posted about this on social media earlier this week. And I'm going to read the full tweet, and I want to focus on what he says about Sacramento. So this is the quote from the congressman. The Epstein class must go. So must the Sacramento consultant machine. Indictments are a toxic stain on our Golden State. Ban corporate cash in California and clean up the mess. Is he right?
We absolutely have to make sure we clean up any mess. When I was Attorney General, we were in charge of doing some of these very same types of investigations and cleaning up the mess. We absolutely have to try.
Give me something specific. What needs to be done to clean up the mess? Is it like the congressman says, banning corporate cash?
I would love to see us change citizens.
Okay, remember Democrats always go back to Citizens United. Why Citizens United? Because unions were allowed to do the same thing, and the Supreme Court says equal protection under the law of the 14th Amendment, which you as Attorney General should know. You do know. That's why the Citizens United was you cannot treat different businesses differently, or corporate entities. Notice he couldn't, he was Attorney General. He couldn't cite one example he did to get rid of this corruption. Because there was none.
United, which allows money to be used like speech.
Is there anything that can be done in the immediate following a case like this that has stunned Sacramento?
When you're approached, do your citizens' obligation and provide the information that the system of justice requires for us to have it work. It depends on people following the rules. It depends on everyone being willing to participate.
It depends on politicians, first, not collecting hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to slush fund. On top of that, he does a masterful job of not answering any questions.
Yeah.
We'll see for the inevitable
Top position here in the state of California. What do you say to people who have seen the story, watching our conversation, that may question your judgment considering what has gone on with the people so close to you?
Tell Nikki to keep asking the questions. Make sure that we participate fully, that we are open with.
Nikki did ask you the questions, you didn't answer them. Or you stepped around it. You did not specifically answer the questions like you said. No, why don't you be transparent and tell us the truth? Here's what I believe what went on. Sean McCluskey, and they've said, and this is what's really even nuts. When he was working for Javier Bacari in the state of California, he was making a lot more money. When he went to be chief of staff when Javier Bacari and when Biden appointed him to HHS, he's making less money as chief of staff for HHS than he was as chief of staff of Attorney General. So I believe they cooked up this scheme to augment Sean McCluskey's salary. They said, oh, we got this big pot of gold over here. We'll get Dana the Hammer Williamson and all this. And if anything goes down, they'll be able to cover it up. This cat, there's no way you're convincing me he did not know exactly and probably authorized what was going on. Hopefully. And since if it's tied to augmenting his federal salary, and it is, that's why I believe the Department of Justice is on top of this, and rightly so. We must get to the bottom of this, or we will all sink severely. I mean, or just like the Palisades, Newsom will burn your home to the ground and laugh at you. I'll get to some of the local genre going on, as we see. Oh, my neat video switcher. Tire through a car, kills a motorist there in Jackrabbit Trail between Beaumont and Moreno Valley. Sad news there. I did it twice. Him and Paris cops do a bust on a beauty shop theft ring. Good job teaming up on that. Chino domestic violence. Carl turns ugly in Chino. 3 off to jail on a stolen vehicle and chase. Good job, Purdue cops. Of that, yeah, Newsom spent $14 billion. A train didn't exist. Talk about gaslighting. Again, rest easy. They had the services for slain San Bernardino County Sheriff Deputy Andrew Nunez. Oh, boy. I wonder what else. Off to the city council meeting, we get to comment on Mayor Baby Jesus of Moval, who just cost us $2 million. Trying, I believe, to cover up the corruption of him trying to use his ability as mayor and the law to shut us up, to shut certain people up who are criticizing him and his favored ones. Again, the corruption, it's everywhere in our politics, and we better start flushing them out. Hopefully the Epstein deal, and I hope one of the things of it is, and with all this stuff going on, like with Epstein, Baccaria, Gaynor the Hammer, Williamson, Newsom, and everything else, which was the target of that investigation to begin with, according to that, Rob Bonta, they're all behind bars. Then this stuff will finally get fixed. And it ain't going to stop any other way. We got to have the guts to do it. Like Massey, MTG, Boebert, and Mace. Take it away, Sean.
All right, Roy. Yeah, I wish they would lock some of these people up, but unfortunately, I doubt that's going to happen.
I'm not going to bet against you on that one, but hopefully it does happen somewhere.
Yeah, well, let's knock on wood and hope and pray, and we'll see what happens.
You got it.
All right. Talk to you Friday.
Got it.